Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We are here to tell you a little bit about our DOJO community and how we're using Scenius to transform enterprises. I'm Roger Servey with Verizon. I'm one of the organizers for the DOJO Consortium. With me is one of our founding members.
I'm Stacie Peterson, formerly from Target, currently at US Bank.
And I'm Bryan Finster. I lead the DevOps Dojo for Walmart.
By now, you've all heard Gene talking about Scenius and what that is. Just a quick recap on it, right? It's the ability to generate genius-level intelligence out of a crowdsourced or a pooled environment taken from a community. We're trying to do the very same sort of thing that Einstein did with the theory of relativity by transforming enterprises with the same kind of breakthrough developed through an intelligence, a genius, a Scenius, if you will, from the result of all of our members inside the DOJO Consortium.
So this would be a really weird day at the office. Stork literally brought Ross Clanton into the dojo at Target. No, not really. I was blessed to be one of the founding members of the first dojo with Ross Clanton at Target. Now we have over 40 companies with dojos, I'm proud to say. They call them all different things, but the concepts are the same. And Ross came to me one day and said that his DevOps team was doing this place of the way learning thing called the dojo, and would I like to join them and bring the Agile coaches and the product coaching into the dojo? And of course I was like, yes, let's put the chocolate and the peanut butter together. And so we began a dojo 5, almost 6 years ago. It grew to 3 dojos at Target, and each one honestly looked a little different. So even within the same company, your transformations, your dojos might look different. We started out the consortium with really 3 founding members, Target, Capital One, and Verizon. And I just loved the culture of sharing and transparency and being honest about our struggles and our learnings. And I found from my colleagues that it could transcend competition. So we even let Walmart in at a time when I was at Target, because we didn't care about that. We just cared about changing the world, changing the way we worked, and sharing our struggles and our wins and the stuff that worked for us as a Scenius kind of community.
We just ignored each other on the phone. So currently we have practitioners from over 30 companies in the Fortune 200. You know, we're always continuously sharing and learning from each other. We have calls and events just to work together. We also, we act as experts as a service. You know, you hire a consultant to kind of sock puppet what you want to tell leadership. We just do that for each other. We open source it. It's actually pretty effective.
It's really cheap.
And the way Walmart got into it.
It was a rollback.
Yeah. The way that Walmart got into it was, you know, we had gamified Hygieia and came to show it, and I get introduced to what's your name again? Roger.
Bryan.
No, I got introduced to Roger.
Stacie.
And found out about the consortium, and I said, absolutely, we're in.
So taking a look at some of the members, their representative corporations, you'll see on there, Stacie mentioned this before too, right? That we have 2 examples here, competitors in the retail space, competitors in the finance space. But we find that our membership looks beyond those things to try and find that shared commonality, that one path, that one way, that one lesson that we can share with one another to build the best practices and grow the Scenius of the organization. That effort transcends the normal competitive relationships that you would find and makes Walmart and Target, or Walmart and US Bank and Capital One or what have you, fast friends working towards one common outcome.
Yeah, we're all on the same mission.
Mm-hmm.
So rising tides.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it's your side.
Rising tides lift all boats, as Ross Clanton is fond of saying, the godfather of the dojos. And no less so in our consortium, we think about things in the same way. Again, back to the competition that we were talking about, or the lack thereof, and why so. So we use a variety of methods in the consortium to help build the community on a regular basis. All communities need regular things to be able to be healthy and well and so we use a teleconference that's hosted. It's a video conference actually. It's hosted once every 2 weeks. Members come in and out and talk about their successes. They talk about their failures. They talk about things that are challenging them that they need help with, and they talk about things that they've observed. It's a really fantastic sharing. We also have tours provided by our various members. We're pleased to share that Target has done over 250 tours, most of those while Stacie was with them. So
Walmart.
No, we didn't do that.
not
We
yet.
didn't do Walmart.
And those tours are really valuable to help share the experience. I know Bryan came and spent a few days with us in Dallas, so fantastic stuff. We've also this year successfully held our first learning event. 665 people from the DOJO Consortium, and at that point we were only about 24 companies worth, came to Minneapolis to learn about the great things that we are practicing as a group, building that Senius in the immersive learning practice. We had people like Michael Nygaard,
Kent Beck.
just fantastic, to be able to get those kind of people from the DevOps community to come out and talk about what we're doing. And then finally, we're doing meetups, right? In Dallas, we've got a healthy meetup group that's going on, and we also have one in Minneapolis. And we're hoping very soon that our friends in Atlanta will begin starting one of those as well.
And I hope that all of you have experienced what a sharing community the entire DevOps community is. And the DOJO Consortium is the same way. All of us are equal. We're all on a journey. There's no seniors or juniors. It doesn't matter how long we've been doing it. We're all mentors or mentees about something. And it's a really special kind of feeling. Yeah. So, this is what we do, right? We share what we've learned. We share successes and failures, like Roger said. And personally, I always ask everybody, what failed? Why did it fail? Because I want to know if it fails for me. Just because it failed for them doesn't mean it wouldn't succeed for me. We also work on brainstorming solutions for each other. I might be struggling with something, and, with our shared mind, we can come up with a solution that might work for me.
I found playbooks super useful at Target and at US Bank, and the DOJO Consortium is developing one that we're crowdsourcing. At US Bank, our playbook has become a coaching tool, but it's also a self-service way to go in, and as a PO or a Scrum Master or an engineer, you can click on helpful templates and get started with good examples and see the entire product lifecycle from discovery to delivery. You can see how to pass an audit in there. There's just a lot of cool stuff that's been really useful across companies. So you'll be able to check ours out from the consortium on how to run a dojo and how to coach on this stuff soon.
Where would you be in the dojo without the place? We come together, and you might be surprised how much time we spend here and there talking about the importance of the dojo itself. What goes into a dojo? What are the components? What are the tools that you use within it? Who's in the dojo, et cetera? We talk about the place on a regular basis, and we're always interested in new examples. Now, Stacie's got one that we're really excited for her to talk about later, of new examples on how to utilize the space and how to activate that to make things different, because that difference helps amplify the lessons that are being learned by the teams.
So we're out there spreading the word about this. We're trying to get more people roped in and showing what we're actually doing. You'll see that Verizon, Delta, Walmart, other members, we've talked about this on several, this year, here last year. We're also at local meetups talking about it. Jennifer at DevOps Days Dallas was super energetic and super fun to watch. DevOps Days Columbus and other places, you'll hear about what we're doing.
In addition to speaking, we're also writing. As you can see, a few of our members are contributing their thoughts. Here today, you'll see Jackie Damiano and Ross Clanton, two of our members of the consortium, talking, or rather representing for the book that they wrote for IT Revolution, or the pamphlet, they wrote. Fantastic treatise that represents the Senius of this organization and how you get started with your own dojos. If you need to go a little further, a couple of other members, Joel Tosi and Dion Stewart, they're publishing a full-length treatise on how to activate your own dojo, how to run it at scale, and all of the steps that go in from soups to nuts and your evolution journey thereafter.
So at Target, we were an early adopter, so we found ourselves mentoring a lot of companies. Like Roger said, we did hundreds of tours, Q&A labs, workshops. We hosted teams, executives up and down the food chain. And I have to say, I learned more from them just by observing over hundreds of companies how we all share the same struggles and the same woes and the same waterfall scars and battles. So that was really a fun opportunity. And now to come full circle at US Bank, I find myself starting over at a bank, which is a very different culture. So I've been able to reach out to the members of the community and get mentoring as I began mentoring others. And I can, like Bryan said, rope in some free consulting and say, go tell them that for me. Tell them a bank can do this too. And I know you've had similar.
Yeah, it is effective. And, in the same vein, I was the mentee. We were getting started, and I needed to know how to get it done. You go to the conferences, you see the stuff, but there's no details. There's not enough time. And I had me and a teammate spent 2 days at Verizon's dojo, deep diving, seeing all of their artifacts, seeing the dojo in action, talking to the coaches, finding out what the reality of it is. And we found out all the things, or at least many of the things we didn't know, which absolutely massively accelerated, so that just a few weeks later, we were able to start our first engagement with the team and start running without stumbling.
It's a big part of our culture to pay it forward and to continue to grow the seniors by helping those who are getting started.
And the thing about what we do is metrics-based coaching, okay? It's not about process. It's not you must do Scrum. That'll fail. It's what are your current metrics? How do we improve those metrics? Let's run experiments. Let's get it done with measurable outcomes. And Ross Clanton talked at a webinar a few months ago about he's seen across multiple companies that it's not uncommon to see cycle times drop by 50%. It's also been my experience as well, that every single team we go into, we see massive improvement. And they do bounce back a little bit, but they never dropped as far as they were. And the way we focus on it is we focus on continuous integration as the driver of that improvement, driving that batch size down. Why can't we go to master today? Let's work as a team to solve the problem. That's how we move the teams and teach them how to improve so they can continue improving after we've left.
Yeah, and just adding measurement's really the cornerstone of being able to demonstrate value. And so even as we talk amongst ourselves about what to measure, we're always focused on knowing that we have to demonstrate the value of what we're doing to the enterprises we're transforming.
Yeah, and absolutely, don't make the mistakes I made early on. Measure first so you have something to argue with.
So in the DOJO Consortium, we often say make more awesome. Let me share with you a couple of examples about two of our members and what they were able to see. And these are not unusual in any way. They are actually regular and common examples of the things you find from most teams, right? At Verizon, for example, we had a team called NetRobo, and yes, that was the name they chose for themselves. Big part of the seniors, make sure they label and brand themselves. They delivered an enhancement in 2 months that saved the company $2 million annually and continues to perform at that rate now. So for the last 2 years, they've actually been delivering at that $2 million in savings by implementing a major product enhancement for their installation product, right? So that sounds great, but even better than that, along that same 8-week journey, they were able to lower the number of defects they were getting. Every defect is at a cost, right? So imagine you can cut your cost on defects by more than half. And while you're doing that, you can actually pick up velocity and start deploying your software that much more quickly, right? Going from 9 days to 3 days. That's incredible. And all of that achieved, and again, translates into more savings, over $220,000 per annum per year, right? Great example.
At US Bank, we started an experience studio, having done the dojos before. So if you could do it different, what would it look like? And I'll share more about that in a minute. But they were one of the companies that came in and did a tour and a workshop and another tour, bringing in more people and another workshop. And so I learned a lot about the company and got invited there and was mentoring folks from there. And we're so excited that now we've had teams produce from idea to customer feedback in the studio in less than 4 weeks. New mobile apps, new distributed apps, new modern apps. And those things used to be measured in years or months, and now we're talking about weeks.
Yeah, and actually, it was really cool to watch your presentation where you see actual customers interacting with a paper wireframe for user experience research. That's MVP. That's super cheap.
Yeah, and one really cool thing they did before I got there was they bought executives, and then all the teams in the studios red shoes. And so if you see people wearing red shoes, and they might not know why, but you can tell them you're wearing red shoes because it's a reminder at US Bank to be bold and to be different, because we're changing everything. And so that's been really catching on a lot. You don't have to wear them every day. It's not weird like that, but it's cool to have them buy you red shoes and then point out, hey, you know why you have red shoes on, to total strangers.
We're more stealthy.
So a couple really good examples we shared with you about the DOJO Consortium and the things that companies, teams are achieving through dojos and the transformation that goes through along with that practice. Let's dive a little more deeply into what 3 of our members are actually garnering from their participation within the DOJO Consortium.
So like I said, in 2017, when we came here to talk, we already had a unified delivery platform, and I can't tell you how important that is, not only to training, but security and compliance. We had a community of interest that my wife, who's sitting here, actually started as a way to learn more. She said, I want to keep the conversation going, and we started a community of interest to meet all the time, where it's just developer grassroots helping each other with continuous deliveries. And we had gamified Hygieia. If I had to say one thing that's caused more passive improvement was gamifying Hygieia.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's amazing. The teams come to us, hey, how do I get my score up? Oh, well, let me show you how to do trunk-based development. But that was the problem, is that people still didn't know how. And I came here in 2017 to solve that problem. How do we help the teams learn how at scale? Because it's Walmart, you know. And that's where, you know, I also wanted to show Topo Paul what we've done with Hygieia. It's like, look what we've done. You know, do you think this is useful? And Topo went nuts. He thought it was awesome. And then he introduced me to what Verizon was doing with other extensions of Hygieia to show executive metrics, along with what those mean, which is the killer app, by the way, and roped us into the dojo. And then I went back to my VP and I said, later that week, I said, hey, I volunteered to get us into the Agile Consortium so we can contribute to that open source project, and I volunteered to get us into the DOJO Consortium, so please don't fire me.
Key lesson there, forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, that's just what I do. And the outcome of that, though, you know, is we get to scale experiments horizontally, all right? You have all these people you can talk to. And as you go through and talk to the people, what's working, what's not working, why isn't it working? Like I said, does it work for you for this reason? What have you tried? What haven't you tried? What do you think of this idea? Because conversation is super cheap. Having those phone calls, having the email conversations, the one-on-ones with people, incredibly inexpensive. Execution, experiments, very expensive. So if we can clear the low-hanging fruit, we can save a ton of money, we can help everybody help developers live better lives.
So one of the things that Verizon gained, obviously, was we went right away and implemented the model that we came to know of from Target. Now, we had Ross Clanton available to help us with that, but over time, even we started to see some things as we were implementing that didn't quite work the way they had at Target. No surprises there. Verizon and Target are very different companies with different footprints, and obviously we see a few wrinkles there. We were able to leverage the community to talk about some of the common challenges that we were finding, and that our friends at Target and Capital One came back and told us, yeah, that's totally normal, man, expect it, right? So we came to know of how to manage your pull model, right? Pull model meaning normally dojos don't function by mandate, right? Go to the dojo and get better. That doesn't happen that often. Sometimes, but not that often. More often, it's teams that are seeking to get better come and approach you. And so that's a pull model, which is where we want to attract them into the dojos. And that was a real challenge for us at Verizon that we had to learn how to overcome and actually get better at marketing and get better at attracting people into the dojos. So when we look at overall, in more depth, what we learned at Verizon, one of the key things is, and we showed this earlier, right? That which is measured improves. So make sure that you're looking at what your teams are doing. That way you can capture it and start demonstrating it. You can even monetize it. Members of the consortium will be there to help you achieve that same sort of standard as you're proving out your business cases or as you're starting to demonstrate what you think the value is of your improvements that you're implementing across the board. Bring your leaders along in the journey. In the event that they're not accompanying you, you can expect that you're going to find recidivism, right? This is no surprise to anybody in the room who's been on this journey, certainly not to the folks up here with me now. There's a strength in the community, right? We've found that others are facing the same kind of challenges and problems that we have. And there is great solace in finding out that you're not alone in that endeavor. More than that, as you've heard up here, activating that community to help find and create solutions or to find out what not to try and avoid the cost of failing at it, hugely valuable and important, right? Ultimately, each company is different, so do what works best for you. And over time, you'll find that you'll be iterating your own sorts of ideas as we have at Verizon now as the journey continues on and Jackie Damiano is going to tell you about in another hour, or my friend Bryce Calton here in the audience can tell you, they have come up with some new patterns, some new ways to address that ongoing challenge of how you continue to allow the dojo to grow and evolve into a new thing.
Yeah, having a 3, 4, 5-year-old dojo, you could kind of see what happens over a span of time. And we found that all the teams wanted to come in one time, and that was when we had 6-week challenges. And even if they had to relocate for that 6 weeks, it wasn't really that hard to get the interest in because it was sexy and it was a new way of working. But not a lot of them wanted to come in a second time, and even fewer a third time. So you would wonder, will it die? Or will it always be a place of the way for learning the next new thing? So at the Experience Studio at US Bank, they really took a different twist on it and had it not really be a DevOps place of the way for learning, but more of a business strategy-driven incubator where we happen to teach Agile DevOps product and have teams produce things with that speed to market that the business loved, so that something like we had experienced at Target, a Techstars type of incubator, that kind of exposed me to that business-driven while you're being agile and learning a new way of working. So that's kind of what the Experience Studio is doing today. Also, real customers walk in and we can video them interacting with the technologies, and they can look at paper prototypes if the team wants them to, like way before anything's been developed wrongly. Although we love making mistakes quickly because it happens in a fail-fast kind of way. Thirdly,
Paper's way cheaper.
yeah, it is. Third, the teams can stay. There's no 6 weeks. There's no time limit. And the reason for that was we just had horrible cube farms, and needed new space. So if you were to build a couple of floors and call it an experience studio and bring the strategic teams in, they can stay. The coaching is there. The tools they need are taught to them. They learn while doing, which is way more effective than any training or coaching. And we didn't kick them out. They could stay. We just took over the next floor of the building and the next floor and so on. So it's like the new bank is being built through the Experience Studio. So it kind of feels like in that way it will never die or kind of run out of steam. Knock on.
And you didn't have to kick anybody out.
Finally, the thing that really slows a bank down is risk and security, and for good reason. We need them. I don't want to be in the news and have that be my fault at all. So instead of working against us, we said, hey, we're all in the same team. We're going to beat the competition together and win together. So we just embedded them on our teams in the Experience Studio, and you could really see the acceleration that felt like they were a part of the team. Now they got to help the team be less risky and more secure and not do things to the team, but with them. And the question that kept coming up was, this will never scale, but it has. Like as we've grown the Experience Studio, more risk team members have joined. And when they feel like that team's got it under control, much like coaching, we can move on to the next thing. So that's kind of how we accelerated some of the slowness of governance at the bank. So I've learned over the course of several companies and several years and different iterations of the dojo that transformation doesn't look the same, although a ton of stuff in the playbook is definitely the same. So there's the same mindset and the same values and the same desire to change the world in every place that we go, but it might have to look different just because of your culture and your organization. Even having that why story really tailor-made for your company is really important so that when the grassroots fire is really blazing, you don't have a top-down, extinguisher come and put it out. So finding that top-down and have the stars align with the grassroots fire was really key to have a why story. Also, we happen to have all new CIOs and CDOs, and every C-level at the bank is new. And within interviewing them in their first 5 minutes on the job, I was like, yes, they've done this before. They want product over project. They want to change the way that we're working. So I'm really blessed to have that top-down support. And to get business buy-in up front is way better than to try to get it along the way. So definitely learned through this next iteration how important that is. And our one pain point right now, I would say, is just in building that engineering culture, because the bank was more of an integrator or a package configurer than it was an engineering organization. So we're setting about that with metrics like how much of our workforce is engineering versus people who talk about or facilitate the work. How can we shift that, even just in our metric as a baby step to understanding that engineering is important because we're building software.
And it's one other thing I learned. You know, Dr. Forsgren earlier this week talked about how dojos can turn into an anti-pattern. That's, a lot of it comes, everybody says that dojo is a thing. Really, if the dojo's existence is to grow the dojo, yeah, it's an anti-pattern. You should be an enabling team. You should be communicating information up and down every level of leadership and to the teams. You know, I learned that the most effective thing I can do is go behind the scenes and talk to VPs and talk about the common pain points we're seeing on every single team. You know, and pulling in good information and blasting it out in every method I can come up with to get it out to the teams. And constantly being that channel of communication up and down and being utterly transparent in both directions is really what I see as the role of the dojo. Mm-hmm. And this is key. I mean, you only learn as fast as you contribute. You know, if you have all these ideas and you go implement them, you don't have any way to get quality feedback on that idea. But if you contribute those ideas back to the community, you know, they can either say, hey, if you tweaked this, it gets even better and you can go and try that, or it sparks new ideas and then you get to harvest those new ideas. And that's really what we're trying to do is form that community so it's just a massive acceleration of learning and new ideas to help all of us build that developer experience we want to help everybody's bottom lines. And, you know, like Roger said, a rising tide absolutely lifts all boats. But if you're in a pond, ponds don't have tides, right? So come join the ocean.
I want to leave you with a parting question. How are you empowering your teams and incenting your organizations to change? Maybe through a consortium.
Maybe through the seniors that we can offer here in the dojo.
And this is where we need your help, okay? You know, right now it's been person to person, I know a person, right? You know, I had someone reach out to me from Fiat Chrysler, we got them in, right? You know, we've had people from Delta, we brought them in. It's just who knows who. But really we want to expand it broader than that. So if you go to bit.ly, DOJO Consortium, that's our Facebook, our LinkedIn group.
He said.
DOJO Consortium on LinkedIn. We're also trying to start open sourcing some of the playbooks, and have a community, kind of like InterSource Commons for what we do. And if you go to dojoconsortium.org, it's light right now, but you know we also have day jobs, and we do accept pull requests.
It will also contain the information about our upcoming training event for the DOJO Consortium members to be sponsored or be held in Dallas, I believe, next year.
Yeah. Absolutely. So please join us and contribute. And here's the other thing is people have asked me this week, how can I get you to talk to me? I said, ask me? No. I mean, because your time's valuable. No, we pay it forward.
Because he's so intimidating looking.
Right? Honestly.
We do. We want to pay it forward. So thanks for your time.
Yep.
Thanks,
everybody.
So thank you all.